So quickly, while I'm having a malfunction, which is not by design, I'd just like to say thank you very much for having me here. This is a wonderful event. And I'd like to just introduce myself as a car designer, which is a little unconventional as far as design and understanding of design as a creative discipline goes. What is a car designer? Actually, I'm the person that is between some of you who are the architects and the fashion designers. Car design is the way you project yourself. A car is what you wear. A car is how you dress yourself. But at the same time, it's a space. It's a space in which you live, in which you commute, in which you move and you live. Okay. Is there a way to switch on the video? There's an audio video. So I'm going to go a little bit off script. And maybe going off script is getting to the point. Because I've heard quite a few things in the audience, and I hope those will talk about design. So the best way to give you an example of what is sustainable design and what is regenerative design is taking your Pearl's example about engineers. So the moment we switch to electric cars, we reduce pollution. We reduce the number of moving parts by 10 times. And automatically the solution became sustainable. But designers don't look at solutions. Designers look at opportunities. So when we created at Tata Motors Avinya, which in Sanskrit means innovation, we looked at not what electrification gave to us in terms of sustainable mobility and transportation, but what it gave to us in terms of opportunities. Starting with putting India in the middle, the name, the India is in the middle, and the inside is now the core of what the vehicle is. Before, we would just style a vehicle from the outside and make it look cool. So we approached this new solution that we had in a way that we looked at it as a new organism. And one of the things designers do is we breathe life into inanimate objects. And by creating almost the spirit of this vehicle, that technologically it's a cold electric vehicle, it's a car, it's got 4 wheels. But we tried to create and infuse a spirit in it. Coming back took inspiration, Avinya, the inspiration is from India. This is a beautiful picture from Leh that influenced the electrical screens and the interface and the immersive interface that we have. Taking inspiration from India, we're looking at things like steps in the wells, the step wells, and seeing how that can translate with its rich texture in the use of a recycled or rather vegan leather, and create that depth that only comes from Indian inspiration. As I said, just like architecture, we car designers, we are designing a space. It might not be a space that's static, it's a space in which you move, but think about it. How much time do you spend in your car or in transportation devices as opposed to at home? Or in a single room or a single chair in your home? Now we're talking about a real architecture in space. So to create a space in a way that we are liberated when things like the tunnel or the engine is gone. Sustainability. So, like I said, moving from the architecture, I'm moving into the fashion of what is car design. Sustainability is core, because if you look at the number of fabrics that we actually use in the car, leathers, fabrics, plastics, sustainability is also a core of what we want. The ultimate sustainability for us is creating something that's timeless. Slow fashion, but also for us, we don't want you to want to change your car immediately because it was conceived fashionably. A lot of uh, components today are shipped all around the world, fly all around the world until they get into the factory. So sourcing materials locally is not just about sourcing inspiration, but also sourcing materials locally that creates inspiration. Just because something is recycled, it doesn't mean it has to look cheap or look like it's on a second life. It has to have an emotional connect, and by layering it, by using it, cutting it differently, putting maybe next time, Anuj, I might use the buttons, we might create a playfulness and an emotional connect with those materials that their identity is not just having been recycled. And then regenerative. Everything has certain qualities, and when you recycle it and when you reuse it, when you regenerate it, it has its own new set of attributes. And to use those attributes and not try to hide them and try to recycle a PET bottle and try to make another PET bottle out of it doesn't really make something regenerative. So in these layers of regenerative design, we have what we call, some core aspects of how we create, just like everyone who's talked about fashion, how we create sustainable design through locally sourced crafts, adding value with craftsmanship and emotion, and celebrating some of the regenerative attributes of a material. So these are all materials that we used in the Avinya concept. And what we also thought about is it's not only good enough to use materials or recycled, it is a traceability, to have that traceability in there, to celebrate the characteristics of the materials in an industry of mass production where we put paint on a lot of things, where we put decorative plastics and textures on a lot of things. So to then celebrate what the intrinsic values of the material are and have a sense of traceability of where they came from, because a lot of recycled materials, it's not just good enough to know that it's recycled, it's also important to know whether it was recycled locally, whether it is actually recycled, whether it was factory cuts, and so on. So creating that entire journey of understanding of sustainability in your vehicle, just as you would want it in your home or your architecture of office, or in the clothes that you're wearing. Is the problem? Sorry? Okay. So it's almost like taking this opportunity to a new paradigm of transportation design. We're designing the car, like I said, design is about seeing opportunity when a solution's already been found, which is what electric cars are, taking away a lot of pollution. So we're looking at really getting inspired from within, again, being inspired from what is the space rather than what is the styling of the outside, and how that would reflect when you looked at the vehicle from the outside, and how it would be inviting, that the essence of the car is not what it looks like, how it shows itself off, but how it invites you in, and creating the sense of inspirational Indianness and inside out. One of the key things that we talked about this morning is one of the most frustrating things about living in a city is your commute, your travel, your transport, the transportation, and the frustrations of traffic. So most of the time you're in a bad mood is when somebody cuts you on the road or somebody dents your car. So how do you can technology make transportation through design a relaxing experience? Can your drive be the most relaxing time of your day from being the most stressful and the most frustrating time of your day? I think it can, and that's, again, for designers, I'm not saying this is the solution, but it's an opportunity, and it's an opportunity that we need to look at. We don't need to only design cars that are creating a sense of exhilaration or wanting to be speed and drive faster than the other person? What if we try to create the space that is about relaxation, feeling well-being, and feeling good about ourselves? So putting that sense of wellness, which is what we crave in our lives, to the core of transportation and mobility. And that could be with a simple light, a simple sense of how you light up the space to create that sense of relaxation. Of course, technology means a lot of smartness, a lot of intelligence, how we introduce that intelligence to the vehicle to make it not something that you are distracted by, but something that's helping you. So I'll go pretty quick with this part because I don't want to show you work. I think we want to see solutions, we want to see opportunities. I want to show you what comes next, what goes beyond sustainability. I'm a personal believer that just like slow fashion, as we talked about today, purity, design purity and absolute perfection is the ultimate expression of sustainability. You need to be in love with something for its entire life, not just the moment you see it. And in every detail, it's a discovery, it's a journey, it's a love affair that lasts forever. It's an appreciation of quality, precision, and craftsmanship. So, with these new opportunities in mind, we created Avinya. At the end, we think designing cars is a great experience. It's about moving physically and emotionally. It's about creating that sense of movement and drama. So where are we going from now? I've got 7 minutes, and I'm going to try to go on this very quickly. Electrification is the buzzword today, but it's not. If you look at where the venture capital is going, where the money is going, they've gone beyond that. They've left electrification and EVs and batteries behind. They're looking at the next step, which is self-driving vehicles. And this is where I come into, if it's self-driving, then relaxation and well-being and wellness is at the core of what our commute. It can happen. Autonomous driving vehicles, it's not science fiction, it's coming. And what it means is that like a swarm of starlets or a school of fish, the cars would never crash, which means you don't need something in front of you, you don't need to be looking at the road. And 100 years of automotive development, which is about crashing, 125 years of urban development to create roads with signs don't need to exist. Yes, we can reclaim the entire space with cars that are self-driving. And these are just some examples of what they do. Not only in the exterior shape, but creating the space. You no longer have to face out. You can face each other. You can create an entire space that becomes a communal environment. Of course, it's all about electronics and electrification, which is what creates other opportunities through the use of this technology, not just to drive the vehicle. They can communicate with the entire world. They can communicate with each other. They can highlight their journey, and it's not just about interacting with them through a screen. Think about your journeys. There are journeys you take every day in an autonomous vehicle when you get into an elevator. You take this in an autonomous vehicle that goes vertically up and down, and you share that space with strangers. And it's a very short journey, but it is quite a distance. So autonomous vehicles are a space and environment that we're already very familiar with. But later on, you don't know who's driving the train, couchette, or the carrier that you're going in. You don't see the driver. You don't even know if the driver actually exists. And that's how that seamless transition will happen as we move into autonomous vehicles. And you will share the space with strangers. You'll share the space with team members, or just have a space with your family, or an intimate space. So that opportunity, again, designing a car as an interior space for different kinds of social interactions is again an opportunity. Visually, the car doesn't crash, so it doesn't need to be steel, it doesn't need to be metal, it doesn't need to have girders, it doesn't need to have these structures. It needs to be an interactive space, a space where you can have a sense of community. You might not even have the differentiation between the seamless of the exterior or the shell and the interior. They could be almost homogeneous and seamless. They could be made out of buttons and rubber bands and textiles because, again, they don't crash. You don't need to be protected. So the opportunity of using fabric, tensile materials is enormous. Any kind of space will have to become, again, 90% of a car or a vehicle that we have today sits in a parking lot and it's wasteful, it's taking up road space. And if you really want to be sustainable and regenerative, we should be able to use it when we want it, and then somebody else uses it when they want it, and it's more of a sharing economy. I mean, we've just scratched the surface with the ride-hailing apps and sharing apps, but if we do have this kind of a system, what's the biggest drawback? Why don't we use it? Because we're worried about health, safety, and maybe cleanliness and hygiene. But we can design ourselves out of that. That jacket over there is made out of copper fiber, and it is sterile. You can have ultraviolet light, and there's plenty of opportunities that we can have and to create this sense of reality, mobility, and create solutions. We don't have to go backwards and forwards. We can move in 360 degrees, because the only move backwards and forward is because there's the limitation of the human body, and the human body can only look forwards and only drive forwards. But if we're not driving, we can go in any direction. Lights created to talk for us to see the road, but what if these lights became something that they communicate with the rest of the environment, become part of the environment? So you don't have street lights, but all the autonomous vehicles are lighting up the street for other people. Other manufacturing techniques will also play a role. You can have permeable membranes. And the thing I like the best as a car designer and a boy who loves drawing cars is we could have amazing science fiction-like doors, opening systems, and basically access to the vehicle can be quite a dramatic and inspiring every day. Okay, thank you.